Hey guys, it's Eric with the Miller Park Minute, back with my main man, the Butcher, coming at you for the 2024 MLB season. We are rocking. We are ready to roll. We're throwing strikes, getting likes. Butcher slicing up the fresh takes over on the chopping block. We're getting started. Butcher, it is good to see you. It is good to be back in 2024, talking Brewers baseball and all things around the league. How are you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing great, Eric. It's great to see you. It's great to see your face. It's great to be back on the podcast. It's great. It's great to have a new year and a fresh new slate of shit to talk about.
Oh, God, there's so much. I mean, and it's funny the way this happens, the way this goes. I mean, there's kind of a lull, and, we were waiting to find out what's going on with Council, and, then we're waiting on Shohei Ohtani and all the moves. And I wouldn't say the hot stove is fully flaming yet. And that's kind of the progression of these off seasons. You don't see a lot of stuff till late into January. I mean,
Yeah, it's
even
kind of full
18.
on.
I mean, look at 18. What happened to 18?
Yeah, it took until late January or early February for the Brewers to make any big splash moves. Yeah, it kind of felt like after the Ohtani and maybe at least the Yamamoto signings happened that there would just be the floodgates would be open and we'd be seeing signing after signing. But really, it's been a little slow trickle. Which means at some point we're going to get the heavy rush, the heavy pour. It feels like it's any day now, doesn't it?
It does. It really does. And without further ado, it's been so long, man, I forgot to say some things. This is the Miller Park Minute Podcast. We are on YouTube, Spotify, Google, Amazon, CastBox, iHeartRadio, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and Apple Podcasts. You can find this daily 5:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. And we will also be recording live nightly. If you want to join, if you want to talk Brew Crew ball with us, come hit us up, hit me up, Miller Minute on Twitter. 4 p.m. Central on Saturdays. We'll see if that still happens. You can go support us over on Patreon, patreon.com/Miller Park Minute. And you can also join below on YouTube. All right, with all that out of the way, smash that like button. Share it with a friend. We're taking over number one spot in 2024. I've had it with the radio guys. I've had it with the hot take jokes. The guys who are so damn negative. Now, we will get negative. We will bash the team where we see due to bash the team, but tactfully, and we will still have a positive outlook at the end of the day. Is that fair?
Absolutely. We're not scared to criticize the team. We're not scared to criticize the ownership and the front office. You'll see that, and you'll see that in past episodes. But we take it from a reality standpoint, and we are fans of the team. We love the Brewers, so we're not going to sit here and harp on players and be completely negative like a lot of these radio guys. We do love the team first, and we're going to promote positivity here, even though there might be some hiccups along the road, because that's part of being a baseball fan.
That's part of baseball.
Especially a Milwaukee baseball fan.
If you don't have the payroll of the Dodgers, Yankees, and or Mets or any of those teams, you're gonna expect some disagreements. They're not gonna always do, even in those fan bases, they don't always do what you want them to do as organizations. That's the truth of the matter. I'm sure the Mets fans are not pleased that Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander are now pitching for other teams after they were super excited to have them last year.
I mean, the Mets won the offseason last year. Last year at this time, we were talking about the Mets, Steve Cohen, how they're turning everything upside down. But in just a year's time, there's a whole new team at the top of that spending spree, and that's the LA Dodgers. And they've even found ways to get around spending a lot of money right now. It's
Amazing.
impressive.
And it truly is. I mean, we were talking about this before we went on air, but I think it goes without saying that's one of the biggest topics so far this offseason. They spent a bill. They spent a bill. And no one else is going to spend a bill this offseason. It would be, you'd be hard pressed to find enough players to even spend a bill on at this juncture. That's the truth. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
Well, I mean, you could get 10 guys, but I don't think there's a team out there that needs 10 guys that are going to amount to $1 billion. Well,
I mean, there's teams, but I don't. Not
they're not going to spend it, I guess.
Not teams
Oh,
that'll go crazy
shoot.
the way the Dodgers did. Yeah, the
So
Dodgers have built a dynasty for years to come.
yeah, and I think what we said before we hopped on air was the only problem is they're kind of a little short in that pitching department, but you're also adding a Shohei Otani to your pitching rotation in 2025. There's a lot of confusion about that, but Shohei Otani fully has, and that's why he got all the money. He has the intent to come in and pitch in 2025 once he's healed from TJ. Is it TJ?
Yeah, that's Tommy John's. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I thought so. I just was like, I'm questioning myself last minute. But so he fully does have that intent. Oh, that's funny. Oh, that's funny. Right there. I may or may not have shielded on some Shohei Ohtani. So be it, he's the best player in baseball. It's like owning Mike Trout gear. See, and
Yeah,
that's another
it's like
topic that brief soapbox. Like a lot of people are like, "Oh, I would never wear this team's colors. I would never wear the Cubs colors. I would never wear Cardinals." It depends if there's a player I like, man. Because I had a Maddox jersey when Maddox was on the Cubs, and I wore that jersey with pride. So I don't know where you stand on that, but I if I like a player on the team, I'm gonna wear the colors. I don't care.
I mean, yeah, for the most part. I mean, it's like wearing an MJ Jordan or a Michael Jordan jersey in the 90s. I saw plenty of kids in southeastern Wisconsin rocking MJ jerseys in the 90s, and they were still Bucks fans. There's players that transcend the colors that they wear on their back. Shohei Ohtani is a generational player. I will fault nobody and think any less of them as a fan for wearing Shohei Ohtani gear, even if you're
Kobe,
jumping on the Dodgers
LeBron,
bandwagon.
Aaron
Yeah,
Rodgers. I mean, there
Mookie Betts.
you wear the jersey no matter what. Mookie Betts doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
There's
generational.
Trout. Trout is the big one that I think of. I see more Trout jerseys than anything.
Judge.
But that
Yeah.
being said, let's talk about the former manager of the Milwaukee Brewers, Craig Counsell. That was
Greg.
kind of the whole start to the offseason. And a lot of people, I mean, well, it's Wisconsin. There was some hate going down. What was your take on that when it went down?
Well, we all knew that Council was going, so it was we all kind of accepted the fact that he was going to be managing somewhere else this next year or taking the year off. I actually kind of was in the camp that thought he was going to take a year off, watch his son play some Notre Dame college baseball, and maybe come back in the future. Little did I know, he's been cooking at this for a while. He went to the Cubs. I was very disappointed to hear that at first. It was kind of a shot to the heart. It was like, oh, the first move of the offseason is not only we're losing our manager, but we're losing him to our rivals, the Cubs. And my second thought was, wow, that's genius. They're going to go and build this fantastic team around Craig Counsell, which hasn't started to come to fruition yet. And we'll talk about that later in the show when it comes to free agency in the division. But yeah, I just have a feeling it's a match made in heaven. I think he's going to do great there, and I think they're going to love him there, and I think he can handle the pressure of being on the north side because he handled a lot of pressure here and he did a lot with a little. And I think if he can do a lot with a lot more in Chicago, it's only going to benefit him in the future. And the payment was unprecedented, highest paid manager in Major League Baseball history. Going to set the scales a little higher for everybody else coming forward. So it's a completely interesting deal on many accounts.
Well, and I think that was the biggest part of it. I think he wanted to do something. Being this guy now, Craig Counsell is a player. We both watched him. We've probably everybody who's listened to this podcast has watched him as a player and seen who he was. He wasn't this big name guy. I mean, he was in some key off-season moments. But I mean, he was never that big with the Brewers, and I think part of him probably wanted the big lights in a way. You know what I mean? I think New York was too big. I'm sure he didn't like the vibe when he went there, and I just don't think that he wanted to stray too far away from home. And what better place than Chicago and get a record contract at the deal? Why not?
Yeah,
Can you
that's
be
another
mad
great point.
they took a payday?
I can't be mad that he took a payday. I think like I said, I think it sets the scales for future managerial signings. And I think you make a good point that, yeah, he's on the north side. He's a 90-minute drive away from home. And I think that was a big factor for him. And yeah, we all know that he was interviewing for the Mets job, but that whole situation and with the New York Mets just seems like it's in complete shambles. And I feel like he'd be walking into so much drama to begin with.
There's
And the
so much going
roster is
on there.
changing so much. And the Cubs are just such a historic, organization with so much. It's a solid organization, somewhere that he can be counted on, and he can count on his front office to do what he needs. I have a couple points that I wanted to make about Council about his time with Milwaukee. Just real quick, a couple hot
Hit me with
points.
it.
Well, number one, like I said, he's now the highest paid manager in MLB history. I believe it was 8 years, 40 million. He won 707 games with the Brewers, which leads all Brewers managers all time. He managed the most career games over 500 in Brewers history. 82 games over 500 he managed. No other manager can say that. He was the longest tenured manager in Brewers history. He had the highest winning percent at 531, and he won 3 division titles, 5 postseason appearances in his 9 years here. So we can be mad at him for leaving, but he did better for us than anyone, even Harvey Keene. So I mean, Craig Counsell deserves all the credit.
Craig's Crushers forever. There'll be a DVD. There'll be a game day giveaway in 10 years when everybody forgives him.
There might even be a bobblehead this year because they'll just be scraping so hard to get bobbleheads this year of anybody.
Oh, yeah, probably. I mean, let's be real. No, it was funny because shortly after people were like, even now there's still people like, oh, burn, selling game used Great Council items, and people are like, oh, burn, I'll pay $10 to burn it, and I'm like, come on, for
That's
a guy that's
ridiculous.
done so much for this organization, let's be real.
And really, do we want him to stick around? Like, what more can he prove with us? He got us to the brink of a World Series, and what more can he really prove here? And they're not going to give him the roster this year needed to win anything. So I can't fault the guy for leaving. It's like sticking around at an Arby's that's just kind of there and not really succeeding or failing. That's kind of where the Brewers are right now. So why would he stick around here to
Right. I
fix
mean,
Arby's?
you had this big and that's the thing that we're kind of gonna get into more. But you had this big, lead into, okay, we've got 3 guys that were like good, solid candidates for free agency. Now, of which only one is a solid candidate for free agency, and that's Corbin Burns.
Right.
I mean, I don't know where Willie Adames is going to go unless he has a major upswing this season. And of course, we know what happened with Brandon Woodruff. Brandon Woodruff turned into Jimmy Nelson. Unfortunately, I hate to say that, but it's the truth. He's Jimmy Nelson right now. Maybe in a couple of years, he'll surface in LA. Get to play with Shohei.
Out of the bullpen.
Right. But I mean,
yeah, going back to the Cubs and Craig Counsell going there, and how I thought that they were going to go and build this whole roster around him. So far, they've only made minor league signings, and I would assume that's driving him crazy. This is the tentative lineup for the Cubs going into right now: Yan Gomes, Matt Mervis, Nico Horner, Dansby Swanson, Nick Madrigal, Ian Happ, Pete Crow Armstrong, Seiya Suzuki, and Christopher Morel, and a decent pitching staff: Justin Teal, Jameson Taillon, Kyle Hendricks, and Drew Smiley. But that's not a team that's better than even the Brewers right now on paper. There's not much to it.
Stroman was short term. Marcus Stroman was short term, 1-year deal.
Yeah.
Oh,
I believe. Yeah, he is a free agent.
Oh,
But
nice.
Going back to Counsell's first 2 years in Milwaukee, those were his worst. In 2015, the team went 61 and 76. The next season, they went 73 and 89. And since after those first 2 seasons, no Milwaukee team went under 500. So maybe they're just gonna kind of sit here and watch stuff develop and make some trades. But I still have a hard time believing the Cubs aren't going to go out and make a couple splash deals before the first pitch of the season.
Well, there's always that waiting for the free agent class. There was a big to do last year that no one was going to spend, knowing that Shohei Ohtani was going to be on the market. And we still saw some big deals. The Mets spent good money. Padres spent good money, and that kind of folded into their faces. Both teams that spent last year kind of collapsed in on themselves, but I don't think that's because of the spending. I think it's just the unpredictability of major league players. I mean, that's what it comes down to. I mean, we've got a contract like that in Christian Yelich that everybody says that we should trade away. So,
yeah, I don't. Going on Yelich, I think we should keep Yelich. He's on the upswing. Should we get on to the Brewer signings for the offseason?
Yeah, let's talk about those free agent signings. That was next on our agenda here. Thanks for keeping me on agenda.
Yeah.
I could riff off for hours.
We'll do the signings and the guys that have departed. So the most recent one that we signed, or actually we traded for the Mets. This was the Adrian Hauser Tyrone Taylor deal, and we got back a guy named Coleman Crow, and he'll be going with the AAA Nashville Sounds. He's 23 years old. He's a righty pitcher from Georgia. Last year he spent in AA. He pitched 24 innings to a 1.88 ERA, 31 strikeouts to a .63 WHIP. Pretty damn good numbers. Guy's developing at a nice little rate. I don't know if it was worth trading 2 major league talents for, but he must have some pretty high upside.
My personal opinion of this move is, well, and I think in my season previews and just about every video for the better part of 2 years now, I have said that Tyrone Taylor needs to go if we've got this bevy of outfielders. We've been rich in outfielders last couple of years, and it's really not panned out in our favor. So, basically last year we were forced to play Joey Wiemer all season and not give him a chance to develop his bat anymore and go back and do what Bryce Turing did and go down, find that fix in your swing and come back. He didn't have that ability. So
right, he didn't have that opportunity.
It clears one more hurdle for those guys. And we'll get more into the outfield depth in a few minutes when we talk more about the roster and the changes. But I think the Adrian Hauser he's kind of that back end guy. We got Joe Ross.
Yep.
We'll get into that.
We actually signed Joe Ross for you.
Yeah. Okay. So, anyways, yeah. I mean, there's similar level pitchers that you can add in and kind of almost flip flop around. You know what I'm saying? Even like who was it last year? They had all the innings. Oh my gosh.
Well, there's Elvis Peguero, Yoel Payams.
No, starter. Brave. Brave started for us last year. Former Brave.
Julio Teheran.
Tehran. Yeah. So I mean, a guy like that. I mean, look, he was plug and play in the middle of the year.
Fantastic.
And the guy actually came out pretty fantastic. I couldn't believe they dropped him right before the playoffs. That was kind of shocking.
He was battling injury just before that as well. Yeah. The Brewers' specialty is getting these young pitchers, throwing them around in a bullpen, moving them around. Like, we have a way of having a solid bullpen every year, it seems like, no matter who we tend to plug in there. So maybe Coleman Crow will be one of them guys.
Right. You never know.
Moving on the same day, December 20th, we signed free agent Ethan Haas, the catcher from the Guardians. He also spent some time with the Detroit Tigers. Last year with both teams, he had 274 bats, batted .201, 26 ribbies, 55 hits to a .528 OPS. We're just trying something new at the backup catching position. You know, we've had our different guys back there. This is a guy that's going to back up Contreras. Contreras is young. He's going to catch most games. He's going to catch most pitchers. He's our best young player on the team. So Ethan Haas, a little new blood back behind the dish to help Eric Contreras. What do you think about that?
Eric Haas, but yeah, so in lieu, I mean, we have always kind of done this with catchers in general. Victor Caratini was like a last minute total ad. And look how he turned out. I mean, he was great as a backup catcher for us.
Fantastic. He had some games.
Years ago, we did similar with Maldonado and Lucroy. You know,
yeah,
we've always done fairly well with the catchers that we've had over the years. So I always look at his backup catcher as like, okay, that's a bonus player. Whatever he does is
Right.
kind of a bonus. If he slots in and works great with Corbin Burns, awesome. I mean, you have those pairings sometimes that just work for pitchers. So just a necessary move. I think it's like, just finding the right guy, filling a hole.
Absolutely.
I don't know
Absolutely.
if
Yeah.
you guys noticed, but just so you know, I'd like to point out that I'm the champion. Um, no time for losers because I am the champion of the world. It says it right
Mm,
below. Butcher may be the best host of this show, but he was owned by me in fantasy baseball. And
mm.
until the end of 2024, we are going to remind Butcher of that every chance we get. So,
I think you won by like 12 points or so, and you had Julio Rodriguez, who we all know that you were sending masked PEDs to. You were sending
yeah,
him some PEDs that he was able to pass drug tests with. So, I mean, you may have the title, but we all know it's a fraudulent title.
I
So
also paid off
you
I paid off the guy to deliver it late to FedEx. So
were.
cost
And
somebody may be missing a job out there at FedEx, just like the Ryan Braun scenario, but
he
it's okay.
wasn't an anti-Semite, was he? Okay, moving on. On December 14th, on
Well,
December 14th, the Brewers traded a couple players, Ryan Brady and Cam Devaney, to Kansas City for Taylor Clark, relief pitcher. 2023, he had a 5.95 ERA, 65 Ks, 24 walks, 3.6 record. This guy is projected to be a regular member of the bullpen. He's controllable. He's got options. We love these bullpen guys that we can send up and down, up and down. Once a guy gets tired, you send him down. We love those guys. Taylor Clark fits that perfectly. Expect to see a good amount of him this season. Um, just another bullpen guy we're going to make into a stud. What do you think?
bullpen arms. Can't have enough of them. I think, and that's kind of like a Rays strategy actually too,
Mhm.
which Matt Arnold is a former member of the Rays organization, if I remember correctly. Um,
Yeah,
I think you load up with those guys as many as you can, as cheap as you can.
yeah,
Move on.
and make sure they're guys that you can move up and down and do whatever whatever you will with them because
Make sure
yeah,
they
we
got options. How many options do you come with? 4? All right, that's what we need.
right, and I think these players like coming to Milwaukee. It's just like going to the Rays. We increase these guys' values. We get them in these situations. They tend to pitch well for us, and we can only up their value. So Taylor Clark, another ad. The day before was the day that we signed Joe Ross, the World Series champion, 30-year-old Joe Ross, formerly of the Nats, won a ring with the Nats in 19. He has a career 4.9 wins above replacement, 26 and 28 record to a 4.26 ERA. However, the guy hasn't pitched in the majors since 2021, so he's a perfect Brewers guy, like a Josh Lindblom, a guy who hasn't pitched in the majors for a couple of years. Let's take a shot on him. Hopefully, he turns out a little better than Lindblom. This guy's got a ring. So, what do you think of Ross?
I mean, I think at one point I actually thought we should sign him prior, and there might be a video deep down in the archive somewhere where I said that he was the guy we should have got. So it's kind of funny. Hindsight is definitely there in seeing that now we have him. Maybe I was predicting the future. I don't know. Maybe I got
Yeah,
a little magic, but and it's one of these moves. I think this happens, and Jabba Chamberlain, throw that name out there,
yes.
was one of those ads. I think we re-added Giovanni Gallardo, and we talk about these things over and over again. We add these names, and you never know if they're actually going to pan out and be working bullpen pieces. You mentioned Josh Lindblom. Um, even kind of Wade Miley was kind of a questionable ad back when we added him originally. And then he kind of had a career resurgence with us and went on to pitch with the Reds and the Cubs later and then come back to us. So, I mean, you never know where these guys are going to go. We mentioned Julio Tehran in the last conversation, and, you know, maybe he'll sign a deal this year. We don't know.
Yeah, Tehran's another guy who a journeyman who'd been around for a number of years and had some time off, and we picked him up. And sometimes that pans out, and we do, that's our thing is we develop pitchers. So I think yeah, sometimes it's better to take that guy who's had a few years off, but yet he's had proven talent, actual proven talent, a positive wins above replacement in his career. The guy's proven he can do it. why not take another shot on him rather than some young cat? Although I'm sure we'll pitch him out of the bullpen. I highly doubt that Joe Ross is going to be a starter this year. Maybe some opener appearances, but
You know, and I'm gonna go out and say this. You know, not everybody can be Joe Flacco and come back into the
oh
league
my
and go for four TDs and you know, just be yawning on the bench in the fourth quarter. Like,
he's like I got 5 kids. He's like I've already won the Super Bowl, but here I am.
it's bedtime,
Going
man.
to
Like, it's late. Let's go home.
like, I did my job. All right, I scored the 4 tutties and cleaned up the toys. Let's go to bed. Yeah, not everyone can be Joe Flacco. I am all for the Cleveland Browns now. Now any Cleveland Browns team without Deshaun Watson, let's see them take it deep. I'd love to see that.
Best
But
story in football right now.
agreed. Well, that and Jordan Love outshining Aaron Rodgers in his first full season as the Packers quarterback, but we don't need to get into that right now. December 4th, we re-signed Wade Miley to a 1-year deal with options. He wants to talk about football over there. 2023 was fantastic for the aging veteran. He pitched 120.1 innings to a 9-4 record, 3.14 ERA, 79 strikeouts to 38 walks, and he was the stud of our rotation outside of the obvious faces that kill it for us. Wade Miley.
Wade Miley, a dog. Who? Wait, what can you not say about Wade Miley? I mean, Wade Miley was like, fuck it, I don't need to rehab anymore. And started a couple days later. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
plugged back into that rotation. He knows himself. You know, one of the cool things that I saw at the end of the season, and it was kind of like sad in a way that Council's not a part of it anymore, is like he would just sit there right next to Counts on the, you know, right by the on deck circle. Like he was just he's secondary coach, you know, whatever. Chilling.
Right. Close to the same age, I mean.
Right.
But yeah, Wade Miley, fantastic. He's a surefire NL Central Hall of Famer. Absolutely, by far. Yeah, I'm just he might be one of the guys I'm looking forward to watching play on the Brewers more than anyone this season. I mean, there's like
agreed. You know, and that's one of those things. I want to mention that this year we are coming back. We're coming strong. Butcher mentioned the NL Central Hall of Fame, and we are actually going to be posting the official NL Central Hall of Fame. I got to go back to the archives and actually get the list, but we're going to post it on MillerParkMinute.com. And we're gonna post some predictions up, all of our stuff. This isn't anywhere close to a predictions episode. This is just us getting behind the mics, talking again, chit-chatting, buds having a conversation live and on air. So that being said, what's the next move?
The next move is the one that might be the most highly controversial, at least on your end, Eric, and that would be on December 3rd, we signed Jackson Chourio. I love this move. I think it's a high upside, and there's really not much. If the guy sucks, whatever. We really didn't pay that much for him in the grand scheme of things, and we're not paying anyone else anyway. So let's take a shot here. I get it. He's never even played AAA ball, but the guy is blown up. He's young. So far in the Venezuelan winter leagues, I'll just give you his numbers so far. Currently, this is happening. He's had 66 at bats, 6 ribbies. He's batting .379 to a .984 OPS. He's absolutely killing it right now in the Venezuelan winter leagues, as he has on every level up in his entire baseball journey. Jackson Chourio, the stud of the future. We got him till he's 27. Let's all root this kid on, huh?
Clap it up. So in the way you said it, I love it. I want to say, remind me of Winter League. Maybe let's just go into that right now. Did you know, and this is for all the fans out there too, did you know that like the owners in the organization, I don't know if you listened to that episode of Samson, but they actually don't like necessarily agree with some of these guys going to the Winter League? Did you hear him talk about this, or like the major league teams, the owners and managers and everybody is kind of like, because it's more risk for their player and it's not technically MLB sanctioned. You know what I mean?
No, it's absolutely not. so the owners they benefit from all the stats that they get. They love the data that they can get from these winter leagues. They love the fact that their players are still playing. They don't like that they're going to different countries and that they can't keep an eye on them. They're worried that they're driving. They're worried that they're using drugs and drinking. They're worried that they're getting people pregnant. They're worried that they're just acting out and potentially hurting themselves on and off the baseball field. So it completely makes sense. I understand that, but I think at the same time that these owners, they and these front offices, they love the data that they get from them. They love the fact that these players are competing at high levels. If you ever watch any film from these Dominican or Venezuelan winter leagues, they're absolutely fantastic. It's high
Mhm.
energy. It's like World Baseball, classic baseball. It's these guys are hitting bombs. Acuna hit a couple bombs the other night. Um, but yeah,
I think that's great.
it is understandable that you don't want your players out in different countries having too much fun. I mean, Wander Franco.
Yes, they caught him. Did you see they finally caught him? Wander Franco
They
was on
caught
the
him.
run.
He was
Um,
on the lam.
he was going for the border in a white Ford Bronco. I saw it on X. I may have reposted or re-Xed it. I don't know what they call that right now.
Was it a
I'm
slow
still
speed
new
chase?
with the X terminology, but yeah. So that being said, let's move on here. I
Okay.
hope the Jackson Trio, first and foremost, it keeps his nose clean, doesn't do anything Wander Franco esque. Um, he actually has 6 games in AAA ball,
Oh, okay.
um, of which he batted 333, 375, 475, 851. Did he have a dinger? Didn't he have a dinger? I feel like this guy all winter long or all summer long and like he didn't really have that many home runs this season. It felt like it was either a Jackson Churio highlight this summer or a Keston Hira is somehow hitting bombs in the
Yeah.
minors on Twitter every day. It just that's how it felt. Um my biggest gripe about this deal is that they're putting money into someone who hasn't played. I no doubt want Jackson Trio to be the greatest brewer to ever play the game. But we have seen in the past where young hitters come up and aren't truly developed. And the Brewers have this way of screwing up hitters, and I haven't gone too in depth on this in the past, but this will be a future episode. Where guys come to the Brewers and they either have like that splash in the pan first season, Christian Yelich, 2018, 2019, and then they kind of taper off. And I'm also worried about that with Contreras as well. I'm worried that somehow there's going to be something screwed up in his swing. Now he's young yet, so we'll see. Um, but we haven't seen a guy transition. Going back to Ryan Braun, I think Ryan Braun is the best prospect level player that we've had that's come to the majors and actually hit continuously throughout his career. Orlando Arcia struggled with it. Your boy, now over with the Braves, doing amazing. I mean, he's a goat, and it's hard to see it, and it's hard to know that. I think it's an absolute mistake to put him in the field on day one, opening day. I don't know how you feel about that, but I think that's an absolute travesty of a mistake if they just give him the keys to the castle right away, because you've got 3 other guys that earned it, and I don't feel he's earned it yet. Only playing 6 games in AAA level baseball. What's your thoughts?
I mean, I can see what you're saying. There's your Garrett Mitchells, your Joey Wiemers, your South Frelix, the guys who you say have earned it. But I mean, Joey Wiemer, like you said, had a full year and he's not hitting the baseball. He won't hit the baseball for a while. I feel like I think he is a five-tool stud who could become truly great one day. However, if you have a guy like Trio and he has in fact, I mean, yeah, he's only had the 6 games, but if he has a great spring training, then he's proven he can hit the single A pitching, he can hit the double A pitching, and he can hit spring training pitching. I think that's enough to give the guy the start up there, and you got time to move him up and down if you see fit and he struggles throughout the year, but we're not out to win a whole lot of games this year, so I feel like give the guy the playing time, let him see the pitching. Weimer had the time to see the pitching.
I like how you said that. That leads me. Okay, did we cover signings? Is that it? Did we sign anybody else?
There's signings and then there's one more signing and then a departure actually.
Okay, go. Just give that signing real quick. That one doesn't matter. I know
Okay,
which one it is.
the last one. No, he's a nobody really that we have to talk about, but it was on 11/17 we traded for Jake Bauers. He's a right fielder from the Yankees. We traded Jace Avila and Brian Sanchez. In 2023 at the major league level, Jake Bauers hit 202 to 12 home runs, 30 ribbies to a 692 OPS. Just to get through the departures quick, we non-tendered Woody, we non-tendered Rowdy. We did sign Colin Ray again. But the rest of these guys that I'm going to list have all elected free agency: Darren Ruff, Andrew Chafin, Victor Carantini, Josh Donaldson, Carlos Santana, Jesse Winker, Eric Lauer, Alex Claudio, Julio Teheran, and Keston Hiura. And we released Brian Anderson.
Oh gosh, and that's I'm gonna go to this is kind of a thing, and I mentioned this to you earlier. I think guys can come to the Brewers organization that can be good, but they can also be splash big misses. Rowdy was a stud for the first 2 years.
For a year.
Year and a half. Come on, we'll give him a year and a half at least. Give me that. And he was a stud, right? Jesse Winker had that ability to do that, but he did come hurt. And I think me and you both were very excited for a Jesse Winker last season. And Darren Ruff, he was a fill-in guy. He was one of those slotted in there.
He had a month with the Giants before he came here where he was the guy. Like he was the next coming in San Francisco, and then it was like flash in the pan, just like you're saying. And then he came here and never did anything at all.
Moving on from Eric Lauer, I get it. It just didn't work for him. He couldn't bounce back and find it again. Moving on from Brian Anderson, he had that one hot month and couldn't find it again.
He was a stud in April.
Yep, April. That April will live in infamy. Yeah, and the rest of them, I mean, we mentioned them all. The thing about our organization is we rifle through players and we try and play the hot hands, and sometimes you win and sometimes you lose on those.
I mean, a lot of times you lose on those. Absolutely. I mean, we got to, yeah. There's a few.
Urias is another one that is out of the organization, traded last year, and he looked like he could have been a stud, and he faded out.
Yeah,
and I don't know how the rest of his season went. I know he had some pretty big at bats in Boston, but I don't remember much else being said about him.
He didn't do much else, and I think he went somewhere else now in the off season. I can't remember where, but. Yeah, I remember his first season, he had 19 bombs with us, and he was looking like he was going to be this out of nowhere stud for us, a lot like Keston Hiura was for a period of time, but just much like Keston Hiura, he really fizzled off. So
now, okay, let's move into the now that we've talked about the roster, the additions and subtractions. Let's talk about what this means NL Central standings wise, where we've gone versus where we are. Change to the team. I'm going to spit out some of my views. You can spit out yours. As far as what the starting rotation goes, what I've got down here, I mean, you got Corbin Burns at the top. You got Freddie Peralta, followed by Miley. And then you're going to go into some combination of Colin Ray, maybe a Robert Gasser, maybe Joe Ross. Like you said, he could possibly be a bullpen guy, which I agree with. And then you've got your returning players. You've got your Hobie Milners. You've got your Uribe. You've got your Devin Williams. And you're going to slot in like the Jansen Junks. You said Chafin's gone though, right? I thought Chafin was still here.
Chafin's gone, yeah.
But Pie Amps, you're gonna fit all these. Bryce Wilson was another one. You're going to
Yep.
fit all these
He's
pieces
gone.
in, and there's going to be more of them. You can't the bullpen guys. You're not gonna list really. I mean, with a team that was without Woody for most of the year, I feel, and I said before, Julio Teheran was one that we kind of slotted in there for a little while. He was a late season ad. I feel that rotation is pretty well unchanged. You didn't count on Woody for a lot of those victories. I
Well,
mean,
when he came back,
he was pretty hot. He
not
had
the
a hot
missing
month.
guy.
He had a Tyrone Taylor month. That's what we're calling going forward. Tyrone Taylor month. I do have his autograph though, right here on a ticket somewhere. Instead of CC Sabathia, I got Tyrone Taylor. I will tell that story until I die.
I almost feel like there's another signing coming for that fifth starter because I mean you can't we don't really have a well Ashby.
It's hard to see who could be because I don't think you're going to give Small that opportunity again. I think
No, I
he's
think
kind of
he's back in the bullpen.
spent his time. And Robert Gasser is the only other guy that they talk about, but they really haven't lit up enough about Robert Gasser I think it's going to be anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't even know I don't know that Gasper's ready. So it's like you got this mishmash of because Ashby they kind of moved into the bullpen. I don't know if you move him back into the starter role like
Well,
he
yeah, and
used
he's
to.
coming back from injury, so what is he gonna be able to do? But
Right.
that being said, we still have some of the big key pieces. You know, we got that dog out there, Hoby Milner, eating up
Yeah.
innings. Maybe we bring back Alex Claudio, slot him in
I still
somewhere.
I still think you move Devin Williams at some point this season, and Abner Uribe takes that disposable
Well,
role.
you and I are on two different pages though, because you think this team isn't built to win, and I think we're built to win the division as it stands, and I don't think that the
Maybe.
division is getting much better than it is
Yeah,
right
let's talk about that because yeah, the division hasn't gotten any better. The Cubs have done nothing.
now.
The Pirates signed McCutchen, they signed Rowdy Tellez, and just for shits, they signed Seth Beer, so he's a Pirate now. The
Yes,
Reds
yes.
signed Jameer Candelario. They signed Hernan Perez to a minor league deal. It's kind of funny, and they signed Nick
Oh,
Martinez.
much love.
Perez is still out there. Much love to him. The only other team the only team in the division that's actually done something is the Cardinals, and they upgraded their rotation. But once again, for some reason, they like an old rotation. They went and got Sonny Gray, Lance Lynn, and Kyle Gibson, all guys who are I think over 33 years old. But their rotation did get slightly better. So yeah, nobody's done anything in the division. So the door is still technically open for us if we want to go and make some moves to get better. And yeah, you're saying you would want to keep Williams, of course, for that run that we're going on.
Yeah,
But
and
I
that's what I'm saying. I'm saying at this juncture, you play your best ball until deadline. If deadline hits and you find yourself in a position where you're 10 games back, maybe not even 10. 10 might be a window. Like, I'm not going to give up on 10. I would say if you're 15 to 20 games back, hey, the bubbles are back. The bubbles are back. If I give a thumbs up, it does a bubble. I don't know what setting but um, there was a whole episode where I was highly fascinated with it. But I think one of the things that really you look at here is with the team mostly unchanged in the addition of a superstar player in Jackson Churio coming at some point, whether it not be opening day, please, but in the next month, maybe. You've got some flexibility to do some things here. I keep doing it now. Where you could compete for that first half. And if you compete for that first half, why sell those pieces when you can make a run? I mean, if you look at historically these last couple of years, there's been teams that have gone from wild card to World Series Game 7.
yeah,
We look at a
yeah,
Phillies team. We look at the Nats when we played the Nats in 2020. Was that 2020?
19,
19. Thank
19.
you. No, 2020 was the Dodgers eliminated
Yep.
us and went on to win the World Series. Then
Yeah.
2021 was the Braves eliminated us and went on to win the World Series. And then, of course, the Arizona Diamondbacks broke that streak.
Well, they
And
went to the World Series.
they went to the World Series, but did not win.
Every team that's beaten us in the postseason has gone on to the World Series at least.
Yes, yes.
Well, yeah, Phillies in 08, yeah. Yeah, every team.
It's really bad.
um, yeah, so you're absolutely right, Eric. The there is it's kind of like where the Royals are at right now. Like the Royals have been making these very Brewers-esque moves, but it's like they're a couple moves away from being the best team in the AL Central. We're a couple of free agent moves right now if we wanted to, and we wouldn't have to go over 50 million on the payroll if we wanted to right now. Like we could keep it really light and really low and still win this division. But I mean, we won the division last year.
Reunited and it feels so good. Bring back Greinke,
And
baby.
that's what I was going to talk about as these starting pitchers that are free agents right now. I highlighted a couple that I feel like
Let's hear it. Let's hear it. I want to hear the
we
list.
could make. So there's the free agent pitchers, and then there's the ones that I think the Brewers could make. I could see us potentially signing Marcus Stroman. I love him. That's a deal I would love to make. I could see us going after Zach Greinke, bringing him back if the Royals don't sign him, because where else would he go in his age 40 season? I could see us going after Rich Hill, another aging guy who would cost us nothing.
What is that?
Corey
14
Kluber's another
teams?
one.
14 teams?
It'd be 14 teams. Klubat, Sean Manaea, the former Padre, the guy threw a no-hitter in his career. He would cost us very little, proven track record, a guy who I could see us going after. Madison Bumgarner, I think we would both love to see him in Milwaukee, no matter what kind of Madison Bumgarner we get. He could have a 5.8 ERA. I don't care. I would love to
I
see
still
him
love
as a
it.
Brewer. And then one guy who's always been on my dream list, and the guy had a terrible season last year, but I still think he has some good years in him, and that's Hyunjin Ryu. Bad year last year with the Blue Jays, but I think he's a guy we could potentially go after. There's a lot of good names in the free agency pool for starting pitchers, like your Blake Snells, your Jordan Montgomerys. I was just trying to highlight guys that I could see us potentially going after. Who's
Right,
kind
right,
of
right.
your dream? Who's your dream pitcher out of this free agent class that you would love to see the Brewers go after?
It's kind of funny we're at this conversation because I have there's always been certain names on my list, and you kind of already said a couple of them. But I've always thought that like the odd duck ones are like the Marcus Stromans, like you think of Marcus Stroman as a guy who hasn't been he's good, he's worth some money, but he hasn't been that ace caliber guy. And I think those guys kind of have slotted in well over the years. I mean, look where we went with Wade Miley in the conversation we just had about Wade Miley. I mean, um looking at the class right now, I mean, yeah, you could if you had to check the Brewers checkbook and you just wanted to get willy nilly, you could find a spot for just about everybody. But
Right.
I think the money grab right now for this team, where it currently sits, is in those dirt numbers. Those guys that are just low hanging fruit that you're gonna pick
Yeah.
up. It's gonna have one good season, and that's gonna be what you need.
Right.
There's a lot of guys that just signed that one year deal and are kind of at the tail end of their career, and it turns out to be well worth it. And I think what you said with Greinke or a Mad Baum or something like that, it kind of adds that legendary status. And you look at the end of Trevor Hoffman's career with Milwaukee. That was kind of a cool thing, and it brought up a good closer for us. And those younger guys can study that. So
Yeah.
I would love to see a veteran ad. Even a Rich Hill would be fun to me.
Yeah, and Rich Hill, he'll give you that 5 innings, no earned runs, no strikeouts, but he'll give you those 5 innings of good baseball. And I think a number of these guys really fit that because we're not, let's face it, we're not a team that's going to go out and go crazy in free agency this year. But it's fun to dream of some of these guys, these older guys that can help our younger pitchers that we're trying to develop, and get some bobbleheads out of it. And Trevor Hoffman, I mean, he comes back for the reunions now because he spent a substantial time here, and now we get that. We get Trevor Hoffman to come
I'm
back every
I'm
season.
gonna I'm gonna I'm gonna put out a thought that I've already put out. This is an already shared thought, but I think a smaller organization, and I know Bauer's already been with, like at the Reds or whatever, but I think a smaller organization needs to bring in a guy like that. There is some rumor of Atlanta Braves. I would love to see it be the Brewers, but I know that that's probably not something that's going to happen just in the modern climate of baseball, and I don't think enough people are willing and or ready to forgive. I do think the guy ends up with an MLB contract. If not, I'm sure he's comfortable going back to Japan. He's making plenty of money either way. So that's my 2 cents on Trevor Bauer. Do you have any 2 cents on Mr. Bauer and his current status with MLB baseball?
I think there's a team that'll sign him going into this year. Although I thought that last year too. I think it's going to take a team like the Braves. I would say the Dodgers, but it's not going to be them. The Braves, the Rangers, the Mets, a big name powerhouse team to sign him to take that risk. Because when you sign Bauer, you're taking a risk. You're not going to see the Royals or Guardians or a team like that do that. You're going to see a team that's willing to take the risk, willing to take the PR hit, even though we all know Bauer was found not guilty and no charges
Right.
and all
But
that.
I mean, there's still some connotation. You don't. Well, it goes without saying that anything happens like that. If Wander Franco has found that this girl is of age, fully legit, and there was no contact with any underagers or whatever, it'll still stain him forever.
Right, he's still gonna have a hard time signing anywhere, even if he's found not guilty, just because the PR hit that you take at that initial statement
Yep,
that's for
it
people
stays
to
with
read
you.
on
It
the news
stays
or
with you no
whatever.
matter what.
Right, right. I got to wrap up soon here, by the way.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. Let's get into the other two major. I think the only two major holes that are on our team are that third base and that first base position. Now Bauer, or is it Bauer? Jake Bauer, we got for first base, right?
Yep.
Essentially, I mean,
Yep.
I would think that's what he's for.
Right.
Do you
So, go on.
do you think that they work Owen Miller into the plans for either third or first base?
I think so because I think he's still in the cards for having a major league roster spot for us. I think that he's proven not so much with us, but with Cleveland he was very good. And yeah, they love just slotting whoever in there and the utility guys. So yeah, it's going to be an Owen Miller type. There is a really nice slew of guys who are free agents who are first basemen.
Mm-hmm.
Reese Hoskins, Carlos Santana, of course, Brandon Belt, Donovan Solano, Garrett Cooper. I really feel like Garrett Cooper is a move that we could probably make because we love making deals with the Marlins.
Didn't we
CJ
have
Cron's a
him
guy. I think we did have Garrett Cooper on his come up at
in
some
the
point.
minor league
Yeah.
level? We had him at one point. I thought
Yeah,
that would be a reunion move that would be good.
I could see that. I really could. But I'm still holding out hopes on either a CJ Cron or a Joey Votto. I know neither of those are going to happen, but those are my dream picks for first base.
I'm
I don't know
glad,
why I want the 40-year-olds this year.
I'm glad you said one thing that really resonated with me. You talked about the free agents. I don't want to talk about a guy that's already on a roster because I think if there's a guy that's on a roster, i.e. a Pete Alonso, you ain't gonna get that guy without giving up a major league piece, and then you're gonna screw up your contendership. And as much as a lot of people want to say, well, we're not building to contend, we're in a rebuild. They're leaving that window open. I mean, two
They
years
are.
ago we talked about the window being fully open and it was our time. Now we're talking, we got this much window, and they're either going to pull it to this much window or they're going to completely close it and then have to rebuild. That's what's going to happen
And
this season.
and maybe they're waiting to see, like you said, come deadline time where they're at, if they're 10 games out or if they're in first place. Maybe that's when you make the decision. But it kind of seems like they had that same sort of thing last year and then they didn't pull the trigger, yet we still won the division somehow. It was strange.
I didn't get that. I these last two seasons, trade deadlines have totally confused me because they kind of just
Yeah, at least
middled
on
on it. You know what I mean? Like it was super weird. Now, third base.
yeah.
Who do you feel is our third baseman of the future? Obviously, we got Tyler Black, but what are the free agent options that you've looked into here?
I feel like I don't know. I'm going with the 40-year-old guys, but I've been wanting this guy in Brewers blue for years, and I would love to have Justin Turner. And I think he's still got some big home runs in him, and I think he's hit really well at Miller Park over the years. So why not bring in the Leprechaun to fill out third base? He can still kind of stick it over there.
What
He's
was
not
he getting
great
money wise in Boston? What did he make over the last
boy.
couple of years?
I'm not sure, and I can't get my laptop working
But he
right now.
underperformed, didn't he?
He underperformed absolutely, no matter what they're paying
So
him.
maybe he takes a
He did
flyer
not
on
do
like a
great.
$10 million deal for a year.
Another guy that's out there, I'll just name a few that I kind of highlighted potential Brewers. Matt Chapman's another one. Had kind of
Okay.
a down year over in Toronto, but still a great ball player. Mike Moustakas is out there. I wouldn't be surprised. And
We
Hunter
like those
Dozier.
repeaters. We really like to repeat with
We love
people.
him. We love him. You and I always joke in our text threads about anytime a former Brewer becomes a free agent, oh, it's only a matter of time before we scoop him up. Um,
Right.
Gene Segura and Hunter Dozier are other guys that I highlighted. Hunter Dozier seems like a Brewer, a guy who hasn't had much of a great career since he left Kansas City, but another guy who you could take a flyer on who could be really successful. Who are you
You
pointing
can't
at?
see it. Gene Segura's up there above the
Oh,
Stone
nice.
Cold Steve Austin.
The genius.
I'm a Gene guy. I love Gene. Um, you know,
Yeah,
I like where we're at with that though, because that Tyler Black guy kid seems good. I unfortunately offensively we're never a powerhouse there, and it doesn't matter who we add. We could add a beast of a player and still not be an offensive powerhouse. Now,
yeah.
the other question I ask you when it comes to this, do you, knowing that you've got Churio, knowing that you've got Weimer, Freelick, you're bringing back Garrett Mitchell, could you in some way force a turn one of these guys or one of your existing guys to play a corner? Could you put a Christian Yelich at a third base? Could you put a Christian Yelich at a first base? I mean, that's always the talk is first base, but what about third base?
First base. I don't know if you want to put him at third base. It's a very, I mean, that's the hot corner. It's a hard position to just pick up. You kind of got to be an infielder, a left side of the, you get shortstop or a third baseman. It's hard
It's
to
more
just
of a
pick
young
guys
man's
over.
game too. I mean,
It's a
look at
young man.
Ryan Braun. It, like started there and kind of was
He was terrible there. He was
not good,
terrible.
to say the least.
Yeah. But yeah, I liked what you said about Owen Miller. I could see the Brewers playing him there. You'd put Yelich at first before you'd put him over at third just because of the height and everything, and you wouldn't want
Yeah.
to hurt him digging after balls over on the left side of the line.
What's
But
Monty doing right now? Where is Monty right now? Is he playing some winter ball?
probably, probably. Um,
Monasterio, Andrew Monasterio. Let's not forget about that guy because I think that guy
he,
was an
he's a
unsung
dog.
hero last year.
Very much so an unsung hero. He'll play wherever you stick him. He'll be in one of those positions. I could see him and Owen Miller platooning over at third base probably.
I don't know how to spell his last name. Montessario?
Monas Monasterio.
There he is. I found him. I found his baseball reference. That's a baseball reference I haven't looked up before. I don't know that he's playing winter ball. 2023, 259, 330, 348, 678. That's
Yeah,
where
I
he
don't
was
have him
last year.
playing. I don't
I
have
don't
him
see him in
playing
winter
winter
ball,
ball.
but that was a stat line for the major league season. I mean, the guy did decent in his time. I mean, he's not the ideal candidate, but he could be a stopgap at some point, I think, along the way.
He's like your Hernan Perez. He'll play any position you want. He'll have his games, and he'll hit a decent enough average to maintain his position on the roster. I happen to love the guy. He's a dog. I don't think he'll ever blow anybody out the water, but he's absolutely a dog who
We'll
does his
finish
job.
the first inaugural episode off with this. If you had to line them up right now, what's your lineup?
For the Brewers,
Yep.
give me one second. Let me pull up the roster again here.
Yeah, I know. I'm flipping tabs so quickly. One of the things about being a podcaster is you constantly are flipping between stats and things that you are looking at.
All right. So leading off, I'd probably put Yelich.
Yep, I agree
He's
with
good
that.
for that. Number two, batting second. Oh, we got Blake Perkins too.
Jemai
I
Jones,
forget
man.
about
I forgot about Jemai Jones.
dude balled out plenty of times. Number two, I'd put Bryce Durang
Ooh, I
at
like
second
that. I
base.
like that.
Number third, I mean, just because I don't know where you. Actually, no. Number third, I'm gonna put Contreras.
Okay. Yep. So far, we are 100% in agreement.
Four, I don't know. I guess that's where you stick him. I guess you got to go for William Adames because he's going to get back to his home run hitting ways. He's going to hit 30 this year, and he's going to bat to 268 average. He'll be much better. He'll be much better. Number five, boy, I'm going to put Garrett Mitchell,
I like that. I like that.
who I'm going to
I
put
was
at
gonna
right
slot
field.
him or Freelick at number 5.
Actually, Mitchell, I'm going to put as my. Yeah. No, he's going to play right. No, he's going to be my DH. Six is going to be Sal Freelick at right field. 7 is going to be Monasterio at third base. Then you're going to have Owen Miller at first. And then batting ninth for opening day roster, you're starting center fielder, Jackson Chourio.
Joey Weimer.
So I got Yelich, Terrain, Contreras, Adames, Mitchell, Frelick, Monasterio, Miller, Chourio.
You
I'm
know,
putting him there.
and I'm not gonna say that's not, but I'd say that's very close to accurate to opening day. Obviously, we could see some changes, some ads. We've talked about these needs, these holes. They've been there. They've continued to be there. It's not like they've changed year after year. We didn't have a name third baseman on the roster, a guy that was a natural third baseman last year at the start of the season. We had Rowdy Tellez and Vogelbach over
Burleson.
the last 2 years, so is what it
Yeah, so
is.
that I mean, yeah, there's still those two positions that it seems year in and year out we don't have a solid person there, and much like year after year, we have way too many outfielders, and we got to figure out how to play them all. And once again, we're gonna have a great bullpen and decent starting pitching. Let's hope they overperform,
Right.
and let's see what
But
moves we still have yet to make. Because I don't think we're done. I think once we see the Cubs make some moves, we'll respond too.
I'm not going to be holding my breath for a move, but at the same time, I won't be surprised that a couple little, jigsaw pieces will find their way into fit. I don't think they fully want to cash your young guys like your Mazeroski and your oh my god, I just said his name before. The third base, first base guy.
Black.
Black. Yeah, Tyler Black. Sorry. I was like, I just said it. But yeah, and I don't think we're at that. I don't think we're there yet. So,
Yeah.
and there's
There's
much
still a lot to
more
be seen.
conversation to be had. This discussion will continue here on the Miller Park Minute on a daily basis. We have gone far over what we initially planned. We thought we were going to be at half an hour. We are at 104, Mr. Butcher. And yeah, it's time to get to getting. So thank you guys for coming back to the Miller Park Minute. We are your number one, the only podcast for Brewers baseball. No old retired radio guys that should be put out to pasture and put one or two in the head here. We don't do terrible ad reads. We can pronounce our words. We know most of the names of the players that are on our roster, except for the new ones. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll quit. Remember, smash that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Go over to the website. Follow us on all the platforms, and hit us up in the Twitter DMs and get at us on social. Any final closing words, Mr. Butcher?
We love you. We'll be here to tell you more as more news comes out. We love talking baseball. Thanks for talking baseball with us. Please talk to us in the comments. We'd love to beef with you about some hot takes. We enjoy it so much, and don't widen the plate.
And the first NL Central Hall of Fame award ceremony is going to take place live at the Field of Dreams on September 22nd. No, just kidding.
Bring a suit and tie. I'm looking at
That'd
you
be
around.
awesome. That'd be awesome if we could get like a couple of these NL Central Hall of Famers together for like a ceremony and a show. And then we could have like a pod with them.
They will make them pay their own tab.
Yeah. Oh, by the way,
Come on,
all right, guys.
All right.
We'll see you in the next one.